Upon a time, in the Ever Oak Forest, there was a little girl who went by the name of Little Red Riding Hood, because of the red hood that she always wore. She was taking cake for her dear old grandmother, who lived in the forest. As she was skipping along the path, she came across a little bunny. She then said to the little bunny, "My, what soft fur you have!" But then the bunny became frightened and scampered off. Red noticed the dark looming figure behind her. She turns around, and it was Mr. Wolf, who always followed her around because he likes the cake that she brings for her grandmother. Little Red was annoyed by this. She told him to leave her alone before she calls the ranger, but Mr. Wolf was persistent on getting at least a piece of the cake. So Mr. Wolf begs Little Red to give him a piece of cake because he was very, very hungry. But Little Red scolded him about the last time she let him have a piece of cake. Her parents got really mad. And so she said again that if he didn't leave, she would call the ranger. So Red walked off to her grandmother's house. As Mr. Wolf sat there, he thought to himself and had an idea. He snuck past Red and got to the grandmother's house before her. Mr. Wolf knocked on the door and asked the grandmother about her day. So the old poor-sighted grandmother rambled on about her day until Mr. Wolf knocked her out and locked her in the closet. Little Red then walked into the house to bring her grandmother the cake, only to find that the wolf was sitting in her bed and wearing her clothes. She then asked where her grandmother was and how stupid did he think she is. Mr. Wolf became upset that Red would not give him a piece of the cake, and Red threatened to call the ranger. Then they heard a knocking on the door. They stopped and wondered who it was. Suddenly, an axe head burst through the door, and then the door blew to pieces. There was a large man standing there with axe in hand. It was the Axeman, a psychopath on the run. He then charged the two, swinging his axe down at them. Red and Mr. Wolf dodged out of the way, Mr. Wolf spotting a window to escape from. But then hears Little Red's cry for help. The Axeman cornered her and prepared to kill her. So Mr. Wolf mustered up all his courage and then leaped at the psychopath, hurtling both of them out the door and down the steps towards a nearby cliff. They struggled with each other, not letting up, which then caused them to fall off the edge. Everything was quiet then. Then, Mr. Wolf climbed back out and took time for a breather after his near-death experience. Then he hears a soft thank you. He looks down and he sees Little Red looking up at him with a big smile on her face. And so Mr. Wolf saved the day and did get a piece of the cake, after all. Finn.